Hi, I'm Rhonda Scher. I am the host of Unleashing LinkedIn on Society Bites Radio, which is what you're listening to. And I am so excited to introduce my guest today, Kirk Jaffe. Kirk is not only a friend, he's also a business coach, my business coach, and a mortgage expert. And I'm just going to read you a little bit about him, and then we're going to just jump in and ask Kirk some questions and find out a little bit more about him. He's the CEO and principal of an executive management $200 million private investment fund. He has done that. Kirk originated over 400, and Kirk is this 400 million?
That's
is that right?
Over
400 million new mortgages, past president of the Universal City North Hollywood Chamber of Commerce, former co-chair of the ALFN Commercial Practices Committee. He's an active speaker, a moderator on several trade organizations, the California Mortgage Bankers Association, Mortgage Banking Association, the Attorney Legal Financial Network. He's been on Talk Radio, NBC, LA Daily News. I could probably talk to you for about an hour of his credentials. However, what I'd really like to tell you is that he's an amazing mortgage person. We personally just did our refi with him. He's a business coach. He knows how to work with anybody. And I just want to jump in. So, Kirk, I am so happy to have you here on Society Bites Radio and Unleashing LinkedIn.
Thanks, Rhonda. It's great to be here with you.
So, Kirk, let's just tell me a little bit about you. You have so many different things that you do. Just give me a little bit about your background, because I didn't even mention that you used to be a professional chef. So just kind of give us a little bit about your background and what makes you different than everybody else.
Yeah, well, it's been an interesting journey to the mortgage world for sure. I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio, and I had an interesting rule in my family. I was able to go to college anywhere I wanted to as long as it was east of the Mississippi River. So I chose the spot as far away from Cleveland as I could get at the time, which was New Orleans. So I went to school at Tulane and fell in love with food. I actually started cooking when I was 17, but it was really working in New Orleans for a couple different master chefs and some of the great restaurants down there that I fell in love with it. And you know what I really learned in the restaurants, Rhonda, was organization and something important called mise en place, which is there's a place for everything and everything has a place. So I went through school and ended up becoming a chef, going through culinary school in New York, traveled the Eastern Seaboard, worked for 7 out of 60 master chefs at the time, and eventually made my way west after I finished my career in cooking, which culminated working on a 157-foot private yacht.
Wow, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I got out here to California and I said, what am I going to do now? I said, well, I better start learning real estate because that's where you make money in California. And I knew I wanted to have a family and have a nice, stable, interesting lifestyle. So 20 years later, here we are. And I've just been very fortunate to do some interesting things like run the third largest default loan servicer in the country from 2008 to 2014. So I have a lot of experience in what I believe we are looking at again here in the near future. And also have had some wonderful opportunities like being asked to go to Washington, D.C. in 2009 and 10 to help craft some of the regulations that they put in place with the Dodd-Frank Act. So some wonderful experience, and I feel very fortunate to have been aligned in the right place at the right time.
You're pretty amazing. And I know you have a lot of success stories with clients that you helped, including myself. Can you share a couple of success stories with your clients and, where they were and what happened after they worked with you?
Yeah, I'd love to tell you a couple stories. So the first one that came to mind is Bob and Evelyn. They're in their late 60s, and they are pretty well-off people, very successful business people, and they own a couple different homes. They thought they wanted to buy a new home for themselves, and they've never used a mortgage before. They've always paid cash. So they went to their local, high net worth banker that they do a lot of business with, but the banker just wasn't really that interested in learning about them. They're pretty complicated. They have about 26 different tax returns. So that banker couldn't do it. They called me up 3 weeks into the escrow and said, can you help us? We're really in big trouble. And I said, of course. So we were able to reorganize those tax returns, make sense of it all for the underwriter. and get that file into the lender and approved in just a couple days. And we're on our way to getting that loan closed here in just another week or two. So they're really pleased, and just the communication is what was most important to them, knowing that I was there and that there was somebody to answer their questions and somebody to help organize their package, so it made a lot of sense. The second one I want to tell you about was Mike and Christina. This was an equity planning strategy where these folks were getting ready to retire. They're in their mid to late 50s, and they're getting ready to think about retirement a little bit earlier than normal, and they wanted to know what to do with the equity in their home. So we put together a strategy for them to separate that equity and reinvest it, which would keep it nice and safe and secure no matter what happened going forward with the real estate markets. And also, because rates are so low right now, they really didn't end up spending much more than they're spending today. So a great way to reposition them, keep them safe and secure going forward for their family and their retirement planning. And that was just a great case to work on. And I was really happy to be able to help that family. And the third one I want to tell you about is Sven and Ashley. They're in their early 40s and buying their first home. And boy, what nerves these people had, because they just didn't know what they didn't know. See, Sven is a legal alien from Germany, living here for many, many years. And his wife is newlyweds, and his wife is a very hard executive worker and never had to do anything like a mortgage transaction before. So we got them into process, we got them very organized, and sent them out to go buy. Well, this is a really competitive real estate market. We have about half the inventory that's available normally. Normally there's about 1.2 million homes for sale in the United States. Right now we have about 614,000 single family residences for sale. So a lot of demand out there, which makes it really competitive. And we had to get Sven and Ashley ready to go. And we did that. And they lost a couple of those houses they wanted. But the third time around, they got their perfect house. Everything went really smoothly. We saved them a ton of money on what it would have cost them to do a mortgage because they were ready and prepared ahead of time. It made all the difference.
That's amazing. And I know one thing about you that is pretty different than a lot of other people, and that is that most of your business is all by referral, and you even have a system that you've created for real estate agents. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, 20 years in the business, I've never bought a lead. Now, I tell people about every 10 years I will buy a set of leads just to confirm that most online leads you buy probably are not going to be the quality that you want. And I've proven that out by buying those leads periodically just to test them. And what I can tell you is having great relationships and having great referral partners has made all the difference. And I've made it my business to do that. And being a great referral partner means, to me, being a great communicator, being dependable, being an expert at what we do in our respective industries, and really caring about people. So I built an entire sales training platform specifically for any salesperson, but really it's great for real estate agents as well, that teaches them and takes them through step by step, day by day, how to build those relationships and how I've created a high six-figure lifestyle here only by referral only.
You know, it's interesting because one of the things you said earlier was you talked about what you learned in culinary school, which was learning the systems. And I know from what I'm hearing, it's basically a system that you have that anybody in business, whether it's a mortgage person or a real estate person or an insurance person, can plug into to be able to get the kind of results that you're talking about and not have to buy leads. Can you talk a little bit about, the process, the technique, the tools, and the systems? And is there anybody that wouldn't succeed if they used it?
Well, my system has never had a failure. And that's because if people follow the steps one step at a time, they're going to get the same outcome that I got. It has been proven time and time again. And I can tell you there are plenty of times in my career where I made a lot of money and then I decided to go on vacation. And I actually kind of forgot to work for a while and had to restart my business like 4 or 5 months later from zero. Literally hadn't made a phone call, hadn't worked at all, was able to enjoy that time with my family. And when it was time to get back to work, I just turned back on the system, and within 3 weeks, I have more business than I can handle. So it's a really proven, wonderful way to do business. And it actually makes it more enjoyable because there's a lot less stress when you know what to expect and then know that you can take the steps. So I did one thing the website to find out more is 50gsalessystem.kirkjaffe.com, 50gsalessystem.kirkjaffe.com. And if you subscribe, it's a one-time fee. It is guaranteed. If you don't make an extra $50,000 in whatever you sell within a year, and you do all the things I ask you to do, I give you your money back. But the one thing you get out of there is a quick start system inside the system where you can immediately start generating those leads and making those connections and taking in referrals within 3 weeks. So I laid all that out for you. And again, it's designed to be a one-year program. I really think that people get too overwhelmed. And if we just do 20 minutes every Monday or half an hour every Monday, over the course of a year, we get the exact result that we want. We don't have to stress out about it. But you can do it faster too. If you just want to double your efforts or triple your efforts, you'll get through it much faster.
Wow. So for those people, because you wear so many different hats in terms of what you're doing, you're a trainer, you're also this exemplary mortgage person. And I know right now there's a lot of people that would like to get a refinance, or they're going to be buying and they need to get a mortgage, and they're really frustrated because it takes a long time. Can you share 3 techniques that we can learn right now that will help us to obtain a mortgage?
Absolutely. Mortgages are tough right now. And I was telling people 6 months ago, get in line, because the mortgage business is going to get so busy, it's going to be completely overwhelmed. And that's where we sit right now. So the best thing you can do as a consumer is, first of all, number one, organize your paperwork early. If you're even thinking about buying a home at any level without even committing to it, and you're even thinking about it, go ahead and get that paperwork together and send it into a mortgage advisor and let them take a look and tell you where your weaknesses may be. It's going to make all the difference when it comes time to actually getting into an escrow and having that ticking time clock that you have to follow once you're in that contract. The second thing you need to know is that there are new rules for self-employed borrowers. If you're self-employed, 1099, or a corporation, you take a K-1 of any kind, you need to have a P&L statement, a profit and loss statement for your business that's been audited by your CPA, or a CPA that does that work. So you want to do that ahead of time as well, because that's a sticking point and really hangs people up when they get into the middle of the mortgage transaction and then realize that new rule came out. And the third thing you can do as a buyer is have your purchase funds organized 60 days before your close of escrow. Well, you might say, Kirk, how am I going to know when I'm going to close escrow? Generally, escrow is about 30 days long. So if you're thinking about buying a home, and you have your funds already, but they're maybe in different accounts, go ahead and transfer those funds into one account now. Let them sit there while you're looking for your home, and then you've got your 30 days of being in escrow, and that gives you a 60-day time clock. Why do we do that? Underwriters ask a lot of questions, and if you move money around, they're going to ask you to prove where it came from and how you got it and why you moved it. If it's already there in one account and it's been there for 60 days, no questions asked. You sail right through, and it's going to save you a lot of headache down the road.
Great advice. So I'm going to kind of just pivot a little bit, because one of the areas that you and I share a lot of commonality in is LinkedIn. And I know that in your mortgage business and in your coaching practice, you use LinkedIn to implement the techniques that you just talked about. Can you talk a little bit about how you've used LinkedIn in your business and how others could do something similar to what you're doing so they can leverage their businesses using LinkedIn?
Yeah, LinkedIn has been terrific. And in fact, I make and I have made at least 6 figures of additional income because of LinkedIn directly over the last 5 straight years and beyond, but certainly over the last 5 years that I've been really heavily involved with it. When I started out in LinkedIn, at the beginning of LinkedIn, I can't remember when that was, Rhonda.
Probably 2007, somewhere around there.
Yeah, about 2007, 2008, when I started working for the big company. I always believed that you should just know people very closely on LinkedIn and don't expand your network. And it wasn't until about 7 years later that I came to the decision that the person with the biggest database wins. So you really want to grow that database appropriately and look for people that are in your target markets. Look for the right referral partners that are in your neighborhood and link with those people. And it's a great way, first of all, to build community. Second way, to build your network. And third, when you